You're listening to the Art of Making a Home podcast with Sandro Stefanucci, a home builder with over 37 years of experience in the industry. This series shows you the construction industry from the contractor's perspective. As well, what is it really like to work with the many different types of industry experts like interior designers, architects, and subtrades? And a lot of our friends in those positions are going to come on during this podcast and have a discussion with us about what it's like to work with the contractor and really what is it like to build a home. We all want to share our expertise with you so you can make the right decisions when it comes to wanting to build your dream home. So let's get started.
Hello, beautiful people. It's Sandro Stefanucci, and we're at the end of 2022. So I want to just do a few things today and talk about the year coming up and maybe some things that you can do to prep for your next build or project, home project, whatever it is you guys are thinking about in the construction category. So I think maybe we should start with, selecting homes. Say you want to build a new home. So what should you do? Well, the first thing is like, do you have a piece of property? You need to find a piece of property. And then you need to find out, well, what are the prices are in that area? Is there lots available in the house? Do I have to buy a new house? Because if you're in Vancouver, chances are you're not going to find a lot. It's going to have a house on it. So you're paying probably a little bit more money with a home that has a home on it already and those kinds of things. So obviously budget, be realistic about your budget. Let's just use a dollar figure, for instance. Say that you have $500,000 or $500,000 to $600,000 to spend on a piece of property and you want to build a new home on it. I always suggest going to the lower number. Never ever get up to that $600,000 and try stretching it, because if you start doing it at the beginning, chances are you probably won't have the money to finish the project in the end. So stay down to the lower number that you're more than comfortable with. Let's just say you do that and you say, okay, well, this piece of property is going to cost me $500,000 to purchase. And I know on this property, I can build, say, a 2,800 square foot home on it, standard size lot in Vancouver. I'm just using that as a reference. And so I know I can build a 2,800 square foot home. That's what I can get on it. So what realistically is something like that going to cost? Now, again, as I'm always asked, how much is it a square foot does it cost to build a house? Well, that question is not fair to any builder, really, because they're going to give you some numbers that may or may not be accurate because it may or may not include certain items in there. So, you really have to talk to somebody, to talk about numbers in realistic terms, right? Because guys will shoot all kinds of numbers out there. They can get you in on a low number, and then they can start dinging you as you go along because you're in the contract. So you don't want to get in with that kind of crowd. So again, I can't give you a number because I don't know what you're building. But you have to talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about and give you some realistic numbers on what it is you want to build and the style of home you want to build, the finishes you want in the home, et cetera, so you can get a good number on it. I do get asked occasionally that, I like this home on the property already. Say you want to knock it down. You like the size of it. I want to build something the same size as what's on here right now. A lot of times that house was done years ago and they were allowed more square footage on the lot than you are now. So now there's a lot more restrictions on what you can build and how big you can build. So chances are you probably won't be able to, if you knock the house down, be able to build to the same square footage. Now, if you did an extensive renovation on it and made it the way you wanted it, you could have that extra square footage and not have to worry about it because you are allowed to keep the footprint if you do a renovation. There's a few things you need to look at when you are saying, okay, well, like the house, we're going to restore this house. The year it's restored, is it a character home? Does it have heritage merit to it? So those will, not so much character, but definitely the heritage home will have some rules around what you can do to that home. If there's different classes of heritage that you can do and different specs as far as what those different categories are, what you're allowed to do, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess, first of all, you have to find out what that is. If it is a heritage home, where are you with that classification? If it's, just a home, built in the 50s, maybe even the 40s or something like that, well, you can probably do a lot with it. I think obviously you should have somebody that knows what they're looking at, a builder preferably, that can look at the property and look at the house and look at, the foundations and take an extensive look at it. Don't think that you will get that from an inspector. And a home inspector is not typically trained the same way a builder is trained to look at a home. So, I mean, sure, they're good for, if the furnace is working and, whatever, the roof is not leaking or if it has, things like that. They do a great job on that kind of thing. But if you're really looking at restoring the home, get a builder that knows what he's talking about and knows what he's looking at, and go from there. Assess the home in that respect to say, hey, we could do this. And also the builder should be able to give you some kind of an idea of cost to renovate the home. So, and I would probably do this before actually purchasing the property myself, and to get you some up-to-date numbers on what it's going to cost. And we have to also take into consideration, by the time you get to actually starting the work, you need permits and stuff, and that can take quite a while to get your permits. So typically there is some increases in prices by the time you get there. So you have to factor that into your end price when you get actually to do the work on that home. COVID really kind of changed a lot in that respect. I don't expect to see as dramatic increases anymore now that we're in 2022 coming to 2023. I think, a few percent increase year over year is kind of what we look at now for some stabilized pricing that you're going to pay for products and stuff like that. So I factor those in there. For us here, we have definitely had many people actually come to us and ask us to come and take a look at a home they're thinking about purchasing, and what would be best for it, say to either renovate it or to build new. A builder that's well established in the area locality that you guys are or want to build or want to renovate, they'll have pretty good knowledge on what options you have for say laneways or duplexes or triplexes. There are people obviously that have a home on a lot and they want to either renovate their home or to actually, look at knocking it down and building a new home more suited to what they want. From my perspective, I always say, get yourself a good builder, and all builders have architects or designers that they work with on a steady basis, so they can bring that person in. I don't think it's wise to typically get an architect first without a builder there. They should really work together on anybody's project. I think that's the best route to go, because it's getting tougher and tougher to build. And I think you need a team is what you need. You don't just need a lone architect, just drawing something up and then saying, coming up with some numbers that may or may not be accurate. So I think the builder has more up-to-date numbers on what it costs to build. And then, so I would look at the builder first and then build a team from there and get your architect and designer in to start working on, and getting some preliminary numbers up here that we figure this is what this should come in if we're going to do this design. So that's why I would start first. There is obviously, when you're doing that process, you're looking at, I need 3 bedrooms, I need 4 bedrooms, I got a growing family, or do I want, a games room? Do I want a separate garage? That's important, because maybe you can't put a separate garage on. Maybe you got no room for that, and maybe you do. And those will dictate, where you're going to be looking for a lot, and if that lot can accommodate what it is that you want on there. So, and some people have nice cars that they want to keep in a garage, and they don't necessarily want it attached to the home, but it doesn't mean that they don't want it attached to the home. So yeah, there's all those questions that you have to ask yourself. I think those are just kind of the broad strokes. Once you start getting into finer finishes, that just comes naturally as you move along. But I think if you look at the style of home you want to build, how many bedrooms you want, because you might not be able to say get 4 bedrooms on a particular lot. You might not have room for it. And you might not, if you want a separate garage, detached garage from it, that's a good point. Some people like that. They don't want the garage attached to the home. So those are the broad areas that I think you need to look at. And the neighborhood. Obviously, if you got kids that are growing up, or maybe they're small kids, maybe you want to be close to an elementary school, or kids that are older that you want to be closer to a high school. All those should come into play, I think, from where you are. If it's not too far from that, what are the amenities that you want to be close by, right? And then if you believe that you're going to be staying at that home for a long time, we talked about aging in place, but also aging in place also means that am I close to amenities as well? Like, can I just walk to a store to get groceries or something like that, which I think is a big deal. So if you're thinking about renovating or building new for the 2023, well, for one, talk to your friends. Has anybody done a reno or extensive reno or doing something similar to what you want to do? And who was it that they had it done by? And Did they do a good job? Were you happy with them, right? I think that's a good starting point. You can never go wrong with a good referral, right? And we always work on referrals, and I think 99% of our work has been referrals from people that we've done work for over the years. So that would be my first starting point. And then once you do that, so let's say that's one point. You don't know anybody, so where are you going to go from there? There is a Home Builders Association here in Vancouver. It's called Haven, Home Builders Association Vancouver, and in there they have a category for builders. Researching your prospective builder or renovator, and it could be a builder. We build and renovate, and we do extensively on both of them. So we're not different. I know a construction inside and out. But anyways, so we look at that and just do your research. I mean, even if you do have a friend or somebody that you know this person, builder, renovator, did a great job on your home, you still need to do some other investigations on it, because I don't think you should always just take it. Okay, well, it's good. That's a good starting point. Still do your research on that person, on that builder, renovator. And then, people usually get a good feel of other people and stuff like that. And it may be that this person is a great builder, a great renovator, but you guys just don't mesh. That's a lot right there. So you might want to move on and find somebody else you mesh with. Well, that's the best advice I think I can give. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I hope you have a great Christmas season and the upcoming new year, that you guys will be blessed in that. And there's a whole bunch of new topics coming up in the new year. So just look forward to chatting with you guys again. Take care.
Thank you for listening to The Art of Making Home. Make sure you follow us on one of your favorite platforms to listen to podcasts, either it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or many more. You can find all our information at anchor.fm/artofhome. And if you want to email us as well for any questions from our guests or Sandro about building your home, all you have to do is send us a message at the Art of Making Home podcast at gmail.com. We'll talk to you next time.